The Adventures of Batman with Robin, Boy Wonder. Batman and Robin, dynamic duo against crime and corruption, whose real identities as millionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne and his young ward Dick Grayson are known only to Alfred, the faithful butler. Ever alert, they respond swiftly to a signal from the police, and moments later, from the secret Batcave deep beneath Wayne Manor, they roar out to protect life, limb, and property as Batman and Robin, Cape Crime Fighters. Batman and Robin, scourge of Gotham City's kooky criminals. The Joker, clown prince of crime. The Penguin, pudgy purveyor of perfidy. And the cool, cruel Mr. Freeze. Watch out, villains. Here come Batman and Robin.
Welcome back, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Batcave podcast. It's your old bat chum, John S. Drew here, and we're back with another look at the Filmation 1968 television series. And joining me, as he's been from the very beginning, is the man himself from 13thdimension.com, Mr. Dan Greenfield. Hey, Dan.
Hello, John. Sorry. So that's my little indicator of who we're talking about. It's not a very good impression, I have to say.
Well, you know, this is Simon the Pieman.
Yes. Yeah. Simon the Pieman. Finally. Finally, we've gotten to Simon the Pieman. The greatest villain, the greatest original contribution to the world of Batman from Filmation Batman, Simon the Pieman, who celebrates his 50th anniversary this year because, of course, it was 1968 when he debuted. I love Simon the Pieman.
You know, I do too. It's funny because in watching this episode, they managed to tick all the boxes of what makes a good Batman villain.
Oh, they really did. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that he would have been a great TV, 1966 TV live-action villain.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind.
No, I agree.
And when they wrote it, as I was just doing a really lame impression, I think they were casting W.C. Fields as Simon the Pieman. But I think that after we're done talking about it, I'm going to tell you who I would have cast as a live action, because W.C. Fields was dead for 20 years before Batman debuted, or the TV show debuted. But I have an idea of an actor who I would have loved to have seen play Simon the Pieman in live action.
Right. Well, let's get started talking about this episode here. Simon the Pieman, written by one of our favorites, Dennis Marks.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, Dennis Marks.
Yep.
He steps up big time here.
He does.
The Gotham World's Fair, which brings to Gotham City a new criminal, Mother Apple, beneath whose gray hair lies the black heart of Simon the Pieman.
The crew is all here, Simon.
Simon is ready. Come. But what's this? The beginning of a crime syndicate? You're wondering about the rumor that Simon has come to Gotham to monopolize crime. Well, that rumor is true. Ho! By ginger, it was a snap. Now Simon the Pieman is the kingpin of crime. We call our first caper Lady Fingers. Opening day at the fair, and in the House of Jewels, the fabulous collection of Wayne diamonds displayed on the fingers of lovely ladies.
No need for concern, Batman. I've got detectives planted in this crowd. Wow, look at that beautiful model.
Cool it, chum. She's out of your league.
An opening day gift from an anonymous friend.
A pie. How nice.
Wait! Before you cut, light the candles.
Splendid idea. Holy flashbulbs, my eyes.
Simon says, get the diamonds.
It's a robbery. Detectives, grab the crooks.
They can't, Chief. Everyone is blinded.
Ho! Easy as pie.
This entire opening is just, there's a lot to take in, because we're not only introduced to Simon the Pieman, we're told he's got an alter ego in the form of Mother Apple, so he does a little cross-dressing.
Yes, he's a drag pastry chef.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. No, it absolutely is.
From the get-go, this episode is all in. It really might. It's a truncated version, but right off the bat, it might as well have been an episode of Batman 66.
Yeah.
There were, and as we go along, we can talk about that, obviously. But it's a classic setup, and we've got this new villain, and within, like you said, within a minute, we know exactly what's up.
Yeah, exactly. And all in, because we've got O'Hara here as well, helping to guard the Wayne Diamonds. Batman and Robin are there as well at the World's Fair. They're on all these models. And I love the dig that Batman gets at Robin, because he's particularly interested in one woman who turns out to be Simon's moll.
Yeah, he totally throws shade over at Robin. It's like, oh, she's beautiful. Which, by the way, the Filmation artists did know how to draw attractive both men and women.
Yep.
This woman is not particularly attractive, I have to say. Maybe that's personal choice, and okay, fair enough. But anyway, whatever. I love how Batman just turns to Robin and says, "She's out of your league, chum."
Yeah.
I don't even know why he bothers. It's such a nasty thing to say.
It is.
And for no reason. But that's the thing that they did on this show, is they did have little snarky asides that often got lost in the goofiness of these cartoons. But as soon as he says it, I'm like, geez, Batman, come on, dude, he's your buddy there. What's with the what do you Well, in an episode coming up, they talk about all of the Valentine's Dick Grayson gets. So I don't know why he was kind of knocking his game, unless he was saying, "Hey, you're too young for her." But no matter what, dude, you could have been a little nicer about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a giant pie brought in, which brought me back to the Penguin episode in 1967.
Yes.
There.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, all in, because when we come back from the titles, we see Batgirl's in on the action, because Barbara overhears Gordon talking about the crime on the phone, so she heads off in her cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is good. You got Batgirl, you got a new villain, we're set to go.
We're set to go, yeah, exactly. But she's quickly taken out because she catches up with his pie truck, and he hits her with a pie that, she can't see, so she crashes.
Well, it's not just that. She just starts basically following this random truck.
Yeah.
And starts thinking, and it's like, maybe it's a suspicious pastry truck. And of course it is, because it's got this device that throws pies at people, which, again, another great Filmation vehicle that I wish they'd make, because how cool would it be to have a pastry truck that actually throws pastries? But yeah, and she gets knocked off her cycle, and Batgirl's in trouble.
Yep, exactly. Now, I did like this. I made a comment over in our Facebook group for the Batcave podcast and showed some scenes, and I meant to grab a still from this one as well. There's a new action scene of Batman and Robin running side by side as they head to the Batmobile.
Yes.
It's a little weird, but it's
very
also
weird.
But it's also cool at the same time. Like if you just do the still, it looks cool. But when they actually animate it, it's weird.
They're very dorky. This is one of the wonkier of Filmation's, animation tricks. Every time I see it, I'm like, wow, that doesn't look right. But that's part, again, as I always say, that's part of the fun of Filmation. And often it's at its most entertaining when it's at its weirdest and wonkiest.
Right. Yeah. The Batmobile quickly catches up with Simon's pie truck. I thought it interesting. Nowhere along the way do they run past Batgirl.
No, I don't know. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. So Simon abandons the truck, and he and his goons split up. Now, I guess it was an amusement park, although I didn't get that feeling until I saw the game with the, testing your strength.
Yeah, right. Who knows? I mean, all of a sudden they're at a carnival or something,
right?
And they're chasing after the goons, and of course, I don't know if you want to describe it or if I will.
Go ahead.
Robin, of course, the goon finds himself at like you said, the test your strength machine, and Robin grabs the mallet and he knocks the thing, and the whatever you call that thing, the plunger or whatever that shoots up into the air, hits the henchman right in the crotch.
Yeah.
And it shoots him way up into the sky, and it just looks so painful. And again, it's one of those, I'm kind of half surprised that it got past the censors, because the guy just takes it in the jewels.
Yeah.
And he goes flying up and he rings the bell, and again, it's just like, wow, they got away with it.
They got away with it, yeah. But he lands on Robin, so he's able to run off.
Yes.
There's a bit with Batman in what I guess is an arcade. He starts playing skee-ball, but he hurls the ball too hard, knocking into one of Simon's men. But the weirdest part of it all is Simon trying to get away by boat with his moll, and Batman easily stops him, knocking over the boat. But the two of them just sort of walk away in the water, and there's Robin going, they're getting away, and nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You got to your Filmation logic. The cartoon's not over yet. They have to keep going. So okay, I guess everybody goes to neutral corners. And,
right.
Let's get ready for the next act.
But they weren't even running. They're just casually walking away.
Yeah.
In that Filmation kind of silhouette, like you would see for the Brady Kids or Archies or something.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. But the diamonds, though, the Wayne diamonds, are saved.
Of course.
Yeah. So Batman gets a call then later from Gordon that Simon has struck 3 more times at the fair. Now, you would think they'd call after once, but no. He gets away 3 times.
Yep.
And there's all the crimes have cake themes.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's where they stick with the gimmick.
Yep.
And also Simon also has a second gimmick that it's like the Simon Bar Sinister, is that Simon says, and then whatever it is that he wants to tell them to do.
Yeah.
But so yes, he's got his cake theme. He's got everything going for him.
Did you catch the audio gaffe as Bruce is talking to Gordon? At one point, Dick's voice comes out of his mouth.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Actually, my son noticed that because we had to run it back, and he's like, wait a minute. Didn't Dick say that? And he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we figured that out, sure.
So what they do is they go down to the Batcave.
Now the Bat Computer will tell us what other pastry-type treasures might tempt Simon at the fair. Toll House cookies could mean the cash receipts at the entrance gate. And a pastry called Napoleon, probably the priceless portrait of Napoleon in the French pavilion.
Groovy. Let's go stake ourselves out at those spots.
Okay, to the Batmobile.
You go to Robin, who hears someone approaching.
Someone's coming upstairs.
We'll remove the canvas from the frame, then stash it in the windmill on my farm.
Batman, do you read me?
They're taking it to the windmill on Mrs. Apple's farm.
The old lady looks like
Mrs. Apple.
Alias Simon the Pieman.
Robin?
Mrs. Apple, you're rotten to the core.
Take the boy Wonder with us.
By the way, because I'm trying to remember the order of things. Has he kidnapped the other villains yet?
Oh my gosh, that was the other thing in the introduction. Like, that's what I mean about how detailed, everything was. Yeah. The whole thing that he's got all of them there, and you think maybe we're going to see, like the announcer said, like Ted Knight says, it's a gathering of the whole underworld or something like that. You think, maybe something's going on there. No, he takes them out fast by capturing them.
Yeah, he just to catch everybody up right at the beginning, he captures the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Catwoman, and Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
all 5 villains who are in the opening credits, and he gets them because they're seated around a conference table, or actually like a dinner table, and you see all like the pastry, the batter, and all his ingredients on shelves and what have you, and he's got he's the new guy in town, and he has this rolling pin, and he takes the handle of one of the rolling pins and he turns it like a lever, and it drops all of the villains into like a hole,
right?
And he's captured all of them. He's like, I'm going to take over as the kingpin of crime, and the others. And it's funny too because the others don't talk.
No,
it's which is really weird because it reminds me of the season 3 episode Dr. Cassandra, where they have all of the villains show up, but they don't talk because it's only stunt doubles instead of the actual. But here they actually could have conversed because it's all the same voices. Or Jane Webb. They don't need to cast the. It's not like Cesar Romero that they were waiting for him to show up.
Right.
They could have had some interplay, but they're just standing there. They say nothing. So it was kind of like what Ted Knight, what was his voice sick? Was his voice did he have laryngitis or something that day? Where was Jane Webb? She was on. They're both in the episode. So anyway, it's fast forwarding back to where we were.
Right. Well, you could have argued that those are the stunt doubles.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
So anyway, again. And I want to talk about this at the end. I don't want to get into it here right now, but the whole thing of like he's in the Mother Apple guys, captures Robin, but not before Robin is able to tell Batman where they're headed. We cut back to Batgirl. Remember her?
Yep. Right. Yes. Yeah.
She's finally gotten herself straightened out, and she manages to find her way to Mother Apple's farm, but she's also quickly captured by the goons.
Yes.
And
one of whom has an especially high-pitched voice.
Yes.
This could be the place.
It is the place.
And I don't know if it was the one who got knocked in the crotch or not. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can't even imitate it.
We get a great bat trap as Robin is placed in a giant flour grinder powered by the windmill.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
With an approaching storm, so you know you're going to grind this one good.
Yeah, it's really great. And again, it is worthy. It's clever. And it's worthy of the 66 show.
Yeah,
this is a grade A, pasteurized death trap, and actually the rest of the episode is filled with them. It's almost like they just because pretty much at this point, the plot more or less ends, and it's just one death trap after another.
Right.
Charlotte's waiting in the control room. Go up. Hold it! I didn't say Simon says. No, Simon says. Go up!
Holy hamburger! Hope the weather stays calm. Batman, where are you?
The Cape Crusader is miles away, caught in a bumper-to-bumper traffic jam. Aha! Look! Storm clouds approaching!
I think the stone turned on my radio. Batman, help! The windmill!
Pinned under grindstone! Help!
Got to think of something. But what?
While Robin is pinned down by a grindstone, the Cape Crusader is pinned down in traffic. How long can the boy wonder withstand the awful grind? In a moment, you'll see the thrilling ending. Not of Robin, we hope, but of this exciting adventure. Coming up next.
Hey, kids! Do you know what's inside specially marked boxes of tricks? Free old-time model airplane kits. You get a Mustang, or a Stuka, or a Zero. Easy to put together and...
Silly rabbit. Free model airplane kits, like tricks, are for kids.
And sometimes for tricky rabbits.
What's spring?
A springy, springy's been from head to knee.
Bullwinkle and Rocky.
Underdog and Lucky. Free inside, Frosty O's and Lucky Charms.
Springy's stand, Springy's bend, Springy's ride.
And hold on to things.
There's a free Springy inside each specially marked box of magically delicious Lucky Charms.
And three-way energy Frosty O's.
Bullwinkle
And Rocky.
Underdog
And Lucky. Free inside, Frosty O's and Lucky Charms.
Somewhere in the future live the Herculoids. Igloo, Gloop, Bleep, Tundro, Zoc, Zandor. Adventure in the future with the Herculoids. Next on most of these stations.
On the farm of Mrs. Apple, alias Simon the Pieman, the rising wind is turning the blades of the windmill.
Batman! Hurry!
Where is Alfred? What's taking him so long? I've got to... Hurry, Alfred, hurry!
Came as soon as I could, sir. Batcopters on hover.
Good work, Alfred. Take charge here. See you.
Good luck, sir.
Brilliant.
You know what it is?
It's so great because, again, it's like, because really, when it comes down to it, on any level, as cool as every version of the Batmobile may be, or most of them may be, whether it was the 66 one or any of the others, the idea of a Batmobile really is it's one of the least plausible things that Batman ever had, because if you live in a city, the slowest way to get from point A to point B is by car.
Right.
And I guess in the Dark Knight movies, they at least had the tumbler so we could go on rooftops and what have you, But really, a Batmobile is the last thing Batman should ever want in Gotham City. So the idea that they actually introduced, and what's even funnier, of course, with Filmation, is that Filmation notoriously has no other cars on the road.
Yeah.
They're constantly driving up and down Fifth Avenue, on the Upper East Side, because you keep seeing the Guggenheim Museum over and over and over again. So whatever, that part of Gotham obviously is meant to be Manhattan.
Yeah,
and because it's so mundane. It's so mundane.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and that's the thing. But getting out of it is fantastic, because he's sitting there going, I don't know what to do when we get to Act 2,
Right.
But suddenly Batcopter arrives and there's Alfred.
Yep. Of course.
I love it.
Of course.
I love it.
There's Alfred to the rescue.
Yeah. And they switch places. He takes the Batmobile, although, the whole thing of like, oh, who's that guy now stuck in the Batmobile? Like nobody.
I know.
But whatever.
He should have. Well, I know, but it would have been great if they'd had him in the Batman costume. That they switched places, and so you had Alfred, because when Alfred did when Alan Napier dressed up as Batman on the TV show, that was awesome. They even have an action figure of that now. It would have been great if they did that, but it's even funnier the fact that Alfred's like, "Good luck, sir," and he's there in this convertible, wide open. Anybody in traffic, because they're not moving anywhere, could see this dude, driving the Batmobile. It's great.
Yeah. So Batman heads out to the farm. He gets there in time to rescue Robin. And again, another, it's extreme, but I loved it. Simon takes off in his own helicopter powered by the windmill. It's like the whole thing just comes off and it's its own helicopter.
This is a little bit of James Bond showing up in Filmation Batman, because that is something like that is like right out of You Only Live Twice or something like that, and it's great. Again, it's the same thing. You don't see it coming, and when it happens, you laugh. It's great. Yeah.
So they pursue him in the Batcopter, but he gets away by dumping flour on them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Staying with the theme.
Yeah. They head to a deserted dessert factory. I had to say that slowly, with Batgirl. And they place her in a tank and begin to fill it with chocolate syrup.
Yeah. That's a hell of a way to go, I have to say. But yeah.
Well, what did she say? A delicious way to go, but I don't want that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's shades of Willy Wonka here.
Shades of Willy Wonka, or appealing to the fetishists, as far as like the whole thing with the caviar from the 68 episode.
Yeah, did you see? By the way, and not that I really want to point anybody to this website, but some dude out there, I assume it's a dude, has taken all of the pictures of Batgirl in the death traps and put them on a website. That is so creepy. I'm sorry. I don't know if you're listening to us right now, and I'm sorry. To each their own. But to put it on a website for public consumption just seems a little strange to me. Anyway, back to this trap. Yes, Batgirl is in the big gigantic chocolate vat.
Yeah. She sees, though, a little opening at the top. She uses that as an opportunity to release compressed gas through the vent, which sends a signal which the Batcopter sees.
Right, and the Batman is like, what what's that? I think we ought to check it out.
Right.
It's not like, I mean, they're on a mission. It's really not, you're in a city. It's not really that big a deal, but hey, it works for the plot. So they check it out, and sure enough.
Mm-hmm. So they arrive at the factory. Batman goes in first. He's quickly trapped in a giant mixing bowl. Like you said, death traps.
And not just death traps, but giant death traps.
Yeah.
This is all real Bill Finger, classic Batman. Everything is oversized. The giant mixing bowl. I would have loved to have seen the prop makers come up with this in live action.
Yeah. Robin shows up a few moments later. He gets himself trapped in a giant bowl of butter that is being melted by hot coils underneath.
Yeah. And this is great. So now you have 3 death traps going at the same time.
Right. and it's just, I mean, you can argue and say, well, these are all big machines because they were mass producing cake. It's not like they even actually had to create these.
Well, except the fact that they look like, your garden variety kitchen appliances.
Right, exactly.
They don't look like, factory machinery. And this is not, I bet you that this is not what the Little Debbie's factory looks like.
Well, yeah.
I would wager that it looks a lot different than this. But for the purposes of this story, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it looks like it's fun too. Each one of these things looks like it's fun to. Look, who wouldn't want to dive into a big vat of chocolate? How
True.
cool would that be? I mean, I wouldn't want to suffocate, but it would be fun.
Right. So we've got all 3 in the trap. Simon is feeling like a party, and so we get,
You are a genius, Simon.
Of course. Now Simon says we celebrate by dancing the cakewalk.
The cakewalk.
And they start banging on pots and pans,
Yep.
and they do a cakewalk.
This is what I call a sticky situation.
And I got to tell you, for everything that we have seen to this point in our Filmation, reviews, and knowing what's coming down the line in the episodes that are left, this is, I would say, the single strangest sequence in the entire run of Filmation Batman. It is so weird that they decide that they're going to have a little cutaway to a song and dance, or basically a dance routine by the villains celebrating the demise of Batman and Robin. It's I love it. It's great.
It is.
It's epic. It's so strange and so weird, and it's everything that's great about Filmation.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like everything here shouldn't work because it's just so odd, and yet you put it all together and it does.
Right, the whole episode is odd. Simon the Pie Man is odd. There are so many strange things between just the concept of Simon the Pie Man himself, his voice, the fact that we haven't even touched on the fact that his henchwoman has a Russian accent for reasons I don't know why. Yes, darling. And then the weird voice of that one henchman, Lady Fingers. It's like everything that happens in this episode makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And it's I don't think it was designed that way, but it just does. And so it's just so entertaining.
Yep. Now, while they're doing their little dance, Batman manages to get free by stopping the mixer works with a batarang, and then he goes and frees the other 2.
Our victory is sweet.
Too sweet.
Attack! Attack! All right, Simon says attack!
There's a big bat fight breaking out.
Keep going, Robin. Tank's emptying fast.
I wonder why this is going down so fast. Robin!
We're having a little mixer out here. Batgirl, care to join us?
Batman manages to trap Simon the way he trapped the other villains.
Baker Boy at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Gets his comeuppance.
Yeah.
That's it for the chocolate. Plenty of ammunition here, Batman.
Yeah. And of course, then we do get to see them briefly at the end as well. Still not talking.
Have some milk on me.
Floor's too slippery, Simon.
Simon says stand on the chairs.
No, that's the stunt doubles.
Or for that matter, looking at all pissed at Simon.
Thanks, Batman!
Simon's rolling pin. Well, you might say I pinned them down.
Right, because you'd think they'd murder him at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't be putting up with this. I mean, these are the top line guys in Gotham City. I mean, these are the big ones. These are, we're not, this is the big gun.
Right.
These are the big guns that he tried to trap.
Right.
Not a good idea.
No. I tell you though, it's like overall, it's got everything. We've got this villain that again, and you know what I compare him to, in terms of it shouldn't work on paper, but they make it work, is Egghead.
Yeah, I mean it's a camp classic.
Yeah.
In the confines of this of this cartoon series. Because there's so many things that happen here that you really do think would have translated well to the TV show. And, we frequently, and that's kind of why, we're even doing these, is that we're doing these reviews under the umbrella of a podcast that is about the Batman 66 TV show, and we've called this the 4th season.
Right.
We've made those comparisons routinely between how they did it in live action and how they did it on this show, and where they differentiate. And and Filmation, of course, stands on its own. It's got its own concepts. It's got its own way of doing things. It's its own thing. But there's definitely an influence there. This is just one of those episodes where you could see lock stock. They could have easily have adapted this to a full 2-parter, let alone a season 3 1-parter. It has everything that you would want in a live action episode. And I would have cast Edward G. Robinson as Simon the Pieman. If I just think that because like I said, W.C. Fields, who in my mind is the obvious, that's who they had in mind when they were doing it, between his voice and the way he looked. I think that's probably what Dennis Marks and the animators were coming up with. But he died in 1946. But Edward G. Robinson playing Simon the Pieman would have been epic.
And dressing up as Mother Apple.
All of it. It would have been just because it's Edward G. Robinson.
Right.
That's the thing. It would have been even funnier because he always played the heavy and he always played the tough guy, playing this off-the-charts, strange, villainous pastry chef.
Right.
It just, I wish I could have seen that.
Mm-hmm. And we get the goons. We've got Cookie and Strudel. And his moll, Charlotte. I mean, they've all got names. They've even got somewhat personalities. Yeah, it's true, and you're right about that. These henchmen are a cut above the other henchmen that we typically see on the on the Filmation show, because they aren't interchangeable. They're not just a bunch of guys in cat suits or guys wearing jester hats and jumpsuits or whatever. They actually and part of it is also because that one guy's really strange voice, which makes me laugh every time. Because every time you hear it, you're like, what was that? Wait, what did I hear that right? Yeah. No, I agree. I could see this. You're right. This could easily be a Batman episode, a little more fleshed out and such. It's got everything, and definitely highly recommended that you watch it. Now, I'm curious about one thing. I know we've got one more story with Simon the Pieman, a 2-parter as well. If he goes back to his Mother Apple guys at any point in that 2-parter, we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see, won't we? A little joke. I can't stop saying that. I love him.
Right.
Love him. Yeah.
Now, in addition to Simon the Pieman, we've got another villain here as well. A new one to Filmation, not to Batman, though. The Mad Hatter.
Yeah. What's interesting about this one is that it's not the the David Wayne version of the Mad Hatter. It's the Alice in Wonderland version of the Mad Hatter, which was actually when the Mad Hatter was first introduced in the comics by recollection, is that he was that kind of Alice in Wonderland version, and then they brought in the more just like plain old hat obsessed with the big red bushy mustache, and then later back in the comics and later in the Batman the Animated Series, they brought back the Alice in Wonderland version of the Mad Hatter. I'm not 100% sure that's the way the chronology of it, but I'm fairly certain. But anyway, this version of the Mad Hatter is that Alice in Wonderland version. Yeah, he's into hats and everything, but it's got that added element that you didn't really see on the 66 show.
Well, I'm going to make the argument that this theoretically could be Jervis Tetch.
Okay.
Because there's a point...
I'm not saying they're different people. I'm not saying that they're different people. I'm just saying that in terms of their, their shtick,
right?
Their gimmick. They added the Alice in Wonderland aspect that was missing from the TV show.
Right. Well, they added it, but Bruce makes a point of saying at one point that the Alice in Wonderland gimmick is a new wrinkle.
Oh, okay. So you caught that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
He said that's new, so I'm like, okay, maybe this is 66. What do you call it? I mean, even right down to, let's talk about it here. The episode's called A Mad Tea Party, written by George Cashton.
The annual dinner of the Gotham Antique Society, where the tables are set with priceless antique silverware.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. An unusual entertainment has been promised us by Senor Chapeau Fedora and his troupe.
Oh, thank you, my friends. And we begin our performance with my trained white rabbits.
Who steal the antique table settings.
Yeah, it's great.
It is.
See how well trained they are? They steal for me, but only the best.
We've been duped. Stop them.
Hold them off, my faithful knaves! As word of the raid reaches police headquarters, the famed bat signal lights up the sky, summoning the Cape Crusaders.
Holy rolling derby, look at that truck!
That, Robin, means our old friend the Mad Hatter is in town again.
Oh, Batman and Robin, eh? Watch me bring the Batmobile to a screaming stop.
Holy living roadblock!
Hang it. The Mad Hatter knows we won't plow through that sea of bunnies.
Now we are safe from pursuit. And soon we'll celebrate with our priceless loot.
I liked it. I liked the whole beginning. It's funny you say W.C. Fields for Simon the Pieman and the voice. Yeah, it definitely was. But the facial looked more like W.C. Fields here for the Hatter.
Okay,
I thought.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I also like that we get Tweedledum and Tweedledee in here also.
Oh yeah.
Which were also Batman, Golden Age Batman villains that went away and came back. So in a way, we get not just the Mad Hatter here, but other classic villains. Although they're not really presented as such, they're just presented as straight on, gimmicked henchmen, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. But it is, if you're really into old school Batman, it's kind of a nice little bonus there.
Mm-hmm. We come back from the opening, and the Hatter's sitting at a table with his knaves and characters from the book of Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, but now that's my question, though. He says the mock turtle. Did that look like a turtle to you?
Not really. Yeah. That's Filmation.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's a mock turtle.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a real turtle. It's a mock turtle.
And he points out that the next target they're going after is this valuable Chinese teapot. And again, this is also interesting, though, because while he's using Alice in Wonderland overall, he doesn't seem to have a problem with taking from other elements, because he's got this Humpty Dumpty egg that he has filled with tear gas that he drops on everybody in the museum to disorient them so he can steal the pot.
You're right. It's just fairy tale stuff now. It's got nothing to do with Alice in Wonderland.
Right. Batman and Robin arrive, but they're stopped, and this is another little thing, because I don't know if any of the comic book or any of the other versions did this, but they're stopped by glue that comes from the Mad Hatter's hat. It opens up top, just like the Mesmerizer, but this time it's shooting glue.
Yeah, it's like he's got utility hats as opposed to using just the Mesmerizer, which is, of course, our favorite from the TV show.
Yeah. They quickly free themselves using bat torches, follow after them in the Batmobile, and that's where we're bringing in Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Go on, boys. You know what to do.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, yes.
Look out!
Another one.
They're made up to look like Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
We'll snag them with batarangs. They're going to lead us to the Mad Hatter.
Check.
What are you doing, Batman? What are you doing, Batman?
Since you won't reveal your hideout, we'll take dirt samples from your shoes before we turn you over to the police.
And you know me, I love this.
Oh, that's classic Batman detective work right there.
Yeah. But anytime I see that, I'm just like, yeah, good. Let's not go to the computer. Let's just use our brains.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
bat forensic science.
Yeah, there you go. So they determine it's in this particular area. They fly out there in the Batplane.
One of my favorites.
One of your favorites, yep.
Yeah.
And they see this cave area, so they set the plane on hover, go down. They're quickly captured, though, and placed on a revolving floor that will, through centrifugal force them up against these walls that have blades attached to them.
Yeah, this is a good, nasty little death trap.
It is.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
But just like in the other episode, Batman stops the movement by hooking a batarang to one of the blades.
Of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't cut it or anything, but there you have it.
Yeah. And once they're free, they quickly round up Hatter and his men. I mean, it's a very quick and to the point episode. In a way, it's kind of almost a shame that this is how we introduce Mad Hatter, but it's still a good story.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we've said, throughout, the thing about these shorter, the shorter 5 to 8 minute or whatever they are segments, the brief ones. The thing about them is that sometimes that's all the story requires.
Right.
Sometimes you could tell that they really cut a lot of corners and that the story doesn't make much sense. And I think this is just a case where it was just a good use of time, good use of pacing. It's straightforward. Would I like to have seen more? Maybe, and as a two-parter, but I certainly thought that this was a good, solid, well-told one part story. That and it's a nice counterpoint to Simon the Pieman. I mean, you really get a good two-parter and you get a good one-parter. This is a good back-to-back setup that they have here.
Oh yeah, it was. These two definitely worked well.
And it's also nice to see a difference too. I mean, even though in Simon the Pieman we got the other villains making their voiceless cameos. The thing about the show, for obvious reasons, it really relied on the major villains over and over and over again, and whether they were done as solo villain episodes or whether they were team-ups or whatever, after a while it gets to be a little repetitive. I wouldn't go so far as to say boring. It really depends on how good the story is, but it gets a little repetitive. So in this case, we actually get back-to-back episodes where it's really a completely new villain, made up for the show, and a classic Batman villain that only had 2 episodes on the Batman 66 show, really wasn't much of a factor in the comics. And not only that, they took a somewhat different approach than they had been taking in the comics at that point with the character. So you get not quite unique takes Simon the Pieman is unique, but you're getting 2 villains here that feel a lot more fresh at this point in the season when you consider that we are about, 3/4 of the way through?
Right.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good stuff on both fronts. It's a good way of freshening up the show.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, again, I said it earlier, in addition to that, we're also getting new, they're not using the same stock footage all the time to show transitions or movements. Right. They're doing some variety, and that I appreciate as well.
And I wonder what went on behind the scenes, because this has not been, as far as I know, and I would love it if someone would correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's been documented at all. There really isn't much out there other than Lou Scheimer's book about the production of these shows. But that book covered so many different things that it's more or less, this is what we did on Batman, and it's very, very broad brush. There's no intricacies about we decided to do this and this is why this happened and this is who wrote, So we have no idea what was going on behind the scenes in terms of whether the writers were saying, we want to write something different. And what did they have to do to kind of convince the producers to put on episodes that had virtually nothing anyway, to do with the Joker, the Penguin, Catwoman, and what have you. They got to do something new and different, and it really is nice to see, for the change of pace.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We asked Commissioner Gordon to secure a going-away gift for you, Mad Hatter.
Yes!
I agreed. It makes the perfect present. Here you go, buddy boy. A jailbird hat.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Before we leave, though, Dan, what's happening over at 13th Dimension?
13th Dimension. Yes, you're home for retro stuff and modern stuff, and when it comes to comic books and TV shows about comic books and movies about comic books, particularly if you're a big Batman 66 fan. I never go too long without writing about it. In fact, by the time this is posted, we will have probably completed our most recent Batman 66 week, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the last episode of the show. So by the time you hear this, the entire Batman 66 show will be 50 years old or more.
Or more.
Actually, more than 50 years old. More than 50 years old. So there you have it. Come pay us a visit. We're on Facebook and we're on Twitter, and, we never close.
And that's 13th Dimension, 13th Dimension.com.
Yep.
So that's going to do it. Like I said, next time, though, okay, we got a nice variety here with Simon the Pieman and the Mad Hatter, but next time it's a double dose of Catwoman as we devote the entire podcast to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Well, I know you can't. This is one of your favorites we're coming up on.
Oh, I don't want to give anything away yet.
Well, folks, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all the great stuff that's coming down the line here from the Batcave Podcast. Until next time, this is John saying, Dan, citizens, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave Podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com, subscribe to the podcast via Libsyn.com, that's LIBSYN.com, or through iTunes. The Batcave Podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave Podcast.